Every single morning, you drag yourself out of bed, fight through traffic, and finally step into that warm, coffee-scented haven. Only to watch the same smug guy saunter in, glance at the line of tired, caffeine-deprived people, and then glide straight to the front like he owns the place. No e palegi. Nos cham. Just a fake little, oh, I just remembered I had a question, and boom, he's ordering while the rest of us stand there seething. That was my life for weeks. Until I decided enough was enough. This is the story of how I turned his clever little shortcut into the most frustrating part of his entire day. Hey everyone. Welcome back to the channel. If you've ever had your blood boil watching someone skip ahead like their time matters more than yours, you're in the right place. Hit that like button right now if petty justice gives you life. Subscribe and turn on notifications so you never miss another story where the little guy finally wins. Let's dive in. Part 1. The Daily Injustice. My name's Alex. Well, that's what we'll call me here. And for the last 2 years, this tiny independent coffee shop called Brew and Bean on 7th Street has been my morning sanctuary. It's one of those places that feels like it hasn't changed since the 90s. Exposed brick walls, mismatched wooden chairs, the low hum of an old espresso machine, the faint scent of fresh ground beans mixing with warm pastries. The line is never long, maybe 5 or 6 people max, but everyone respects it. We all know the unspoken rule. You wait your turn, you get your coffee, you start your day slightly less miserable. Then there's him. Let's call him Chad, because that's exactly the energy he gave off. Mid-30s, always in those overpriced athleisure hoodies, wireless earbuds in, phone perpetually in hand like he's too important for the world around him. Chad didn't just cut the line, he did it with surgical precision. He'd walk in, scan the queue with this faint smirk, like he was doing mental math on how much faster he could be. Then, without fail, he'd stride right past everyone up to the counter and hit the barista with the same line. Hey, quick question, I just remembered, what's the difference between the medium and the large again? Or sometimes, do you guys still do that seasonal pumpkin thing? The barista, usually Mia or Jake, both super nice college kids, would answer politely, and before anyone could blink, Chad would slide right into ordering. Actually, yeah, I'll take a large oat milk latte, extra hot, no foam. The first time I saw it, I thought maybe he was a regular who had some arrangement. The second time, I felt the irritation bubble. By the third, fourth, fifth time, it was personal. I started paying attention. He came in roughly the same time as me, 7:15 to 7:25 most weekdays. He never looked anyone in the eye. Never said excuse me. Just assumed the line was for suckers. And the worst part? No one called him out. Not once. I get it. Pre-coffee confrontation feels like climbing a mountain with no gear. But every time he did it, I felt this tiny piece of dignity get chipped away. My shoulders would tense. My jaw would clench. I'd stare at the back of his head and think, one day, someone's going to snap. That someone turned out to be me. It started small. One morning, I was third in line. Chad walks in, does his scan, starts moving. I felt the heat rise in my chest, the same heat you get when someone takes credit for your work or talks over you in a meeting. My heart rate picked up. My palms got clammy. I could feel the words forming. Hey, the line starts back here, but they died in my throat. Instead, I just watched him do it again. Watched Mia smile politely while the rest of us waited an extra 2 minutes. 2 minutes doesn't sound like much. Until it's every single day. That night, I lay in bed replaying it. Sleep wouldn't come. I kept seeing his smug little walk, the way he'd adjust his earbuds. Like he was above it all. I thought about all the times I'd swallowed my anger in life. Bad bosses, rude drivers, friends who took without giving back. This felt like the culmination. Small, yes. Petty, absolutely. But it mattered. It was the straw. The next morning, I got there early. Positioned myself first in line. When Chad walked in and started his move, something snapped. Not loud, not dramatic, just quiet and cold. I stepped out of line smoothly, walked up beside him as he opened his mouth for the question, and beat him to it. Hi Mia, I said brightly. Quick question. Can you remind me again what makes your house blend different from the single-origin Ethiopian? Mia blinked, surprised, but rolled with it. Chad froze mid-step, eyebrows raised. I didn't look at him. I just kept going. And, how exactly do you steam the milk for a flat white versus a latte? Is it the temperature or the texture? I could feel him standing there, awkward, exposed. The line behind us shifted uncomfortably.
Me answered patiently.
I nodded thoughtfully. Then I said, "You know what? Let me think on that. I'll jump back in line." I turned, walked past Chad, who was now staring daggers, and slid right back into my spot. He was left standing at the counter like a kid caught cheating on a test. No choice but to either order or slink back. He ordered, red-faced, and left quickly. That felt good. Really good. Like the first breath after holding it underwater too long. But I wasn't done. The next few days became a quiet war. Chad tried his trick again the very next morning. Same routine. Scan, stride, fake question. This time I was ready. The second he moved, I moved faster. Beat him by half a second. Actually, Mia, I've been wondering, do you have any oat milk alternatives today? Almond, soy, coconut. And which one do you think froths the best for cappuccino art? I dragged it out. Asked follow-ups. Is the coconut one sweetened or unsweetened? Because sometimes the sweetened throws off the balance. Chad stood there, arms crossed, foot tapping. I could practically hear his internal scream. When I finally said, still deciding, back to the line for me, the look he gave me was pure murder. He tried again the day after. Same thing. I was there, waiting like a sniper. This time I went for the pastries. Walk me through your entire pastry case, please. The croissant. Is it butter or margarine? And the Danish. Fruit filling or cream cheese? Is the blueberry one tart or sweet? Mia, bless her, played along like a pro. She knew what was happening. A tiny smile tugged at her lips every time I launched into another question. Chad's face went from annoyed to humiliated. The people behind us started smirking. One guy even whispered, "Finally." But Chad wasn't quitting yet. He adapted. Started coming in earlier. So I started coming in earlier. He tried waiting in line once or twice, but the itch was too strong. On the fourth day, he tried the fake question move again. I was ready. This time I asked about the entire menu board. Every syrup flavor. Every milk percentage. Every bag size for beans to go. Each time I stepped aside and said, "Actually, let me think about it," I felt this rush. Not anger anymore. Control. For the first time in weeks, the morning felt fair. Chad started looking haggard. Bags under his eyes. Hair not quite as perfect. His swagger was gone. He'd glance at me when he walked in now, wary like prey spotting a predator. The line respected me. A couple regulars even nodded approval. "Nice one," one woman murmured. But inside, doubt crept in. Was I becoming the thing I hated? Was this sustainable? What if he confronted me? What if Mia got tired of it? The thrill was addictive, but the stakes felt higher every day. I started waking up earlier just to beat him there. My own routine was shifting. Was revenge worth this much effort? Then came the morning that changed everything. Chad walked in, saw me already in position near the front, and hesitated. For the first time, he stayed in line. My heart leaped. Victory. Maybe. But then he leaned over to the guy behind him and muttered something. I caught the words, "that guy," and "every day." He was talking about me. The tension thickened. He was plotting something. I could feel it. And that's when I knew, this wasn't over. If he wanted to escalate, I'd have to go bigger. Smarter. More surgical. The real plan was about to begin. The turning point and revenge planning. I left Brew and Bean that morning with my pulse still hammering. Chad hadn't said anything directly to me, not yet, but the way he'd leaned in and muttered to the guy behind him felt like the opening move in a new game. He was no longer just embarrassed. He was angry. And angry people with bruised egos don't usually slink away quietly. For the first time since this whole thing started, I felt a flicker of real unease. I sat in my car in the parking lot longer than usual, engine off, windows cracked, watching the steam rise from my to-go cup. My hands were shaking, not from caffeine, but from adrenaline finally crashing. I replayed the moment in my head, his narrowed eyes, the way his jaw flexed when I'd stepped in front of him again. He knew I was targeting him. He knew it was deliberate. And now he was talking about me to strangers in line. The question hit me hard. How far was I willing to take this? I drove to work on autopilot, barely registering red lights. My desk job, data analysis for a mid-sized logistics firm, felt surreal that day. Spreadsheets blurred. Emails sat unread. All I could think about was the coffee shop, the line, Chad's face. Part of me wanted to walk away, declare victory and go back to being just another quiet guy in line. But another part, the part that had been swallowing disrespect for years, whispered, asterisk, he hasn't learned yet. He'll try again. And when he does, he'll come harder. Asterisk. That whisper won. That night I couldn't sleep. I lay on my back staring at the ceiling fan spinning lazy circles, replaying every encounter like crime scene footage. I started making mental notes. First observation. Chad's entire move relied on speed and social inertia. He counted on no one wanting to make a scene before 8 a.m. Second, the baristas were key. Mia especially. She'd started giving me these tiny, knowing nods whenever I launched into another absurd question. She was in on it, even if she never said it out loud. Jake too, though he was quieter about it. They were tired of Chad too. Third, the other regulars were starting to notice. The older woman with the silver bob who always ordered black coffee. The bike messenger with the neon backpack. The quiet guy in the beanie who read sci-fi paperbacks while he waited. They'd begun exchanging glances whenever Chad appeared. A silent coalition was forming without anyone saying a word. I realized something crucial. This wasn't just me versus Chad anymore. It was the line versus the cutter. And the line was waking up. The next morning I got there at 6:50, 25 minutes earlier than usual. The shop was almost empty. Only one guy ahead of me, scrolling on his phone. I ordered my usual, medium Americano, room for cream, then casually asked Mia the question I'd been rehearsing in my head all night. Hey Mia, hypothetically, if someone kept cutting in line using the fake question trick, and the rest of us wanted to make it really uncomfortable for him without causing a big fight, what do you think would work best? She froze for half a second, then leaned across the counter and lowered her voice. Honestly? Keep doing exactly what you're doing. But coordinate. If more than one person does it, he can't beat all of you to the counter. I felt a slow grin spread across my face. You'd be okay with that? She shrugged, eyes sparkling with mischief. I'm here at 6 a.m. dealing with entitled assholes every day. If the regulars want to teach one a lesson, I'm not gonna stop them. That was the green light I needed. Over the next 3 mornings I ran small experiments. Nothing flashy, just gathering intel. Day 1. I let Chad go first. No interference. He did his usual move, got his drink, left looking smug again. I watched the line behind him. The silver bob woman sighed audibly. The bike messenger shook his head. Seeds of resentment. Day 2. I blocked him once. Same old annoying questions about milk froth levels. But this time I dragged it out longer. Asked about the origin of every single bean on the menu board. Chad's foot tapping turned into full-body fidgeting. When I finally stepped aside, the guy directly behind him, a construction worker in a high-vis vest, quietly said, "Thanks, man." First verbal support. Day 3. I arrived early again. Positioned myself second. When Chad walked in and started his scan, I turned to the woman behind me, the silver bob regular, and murmured just loud enough for her to hear. Watch this. Chad moved. I moved faster. Launched into the longest pastry interrogation yet. Halfway through, Silver Bob stepped out of line 2. Walked right up beside me. "Excuse me," she said sweetly to Jake, who was now behind the counter with Mia. "While he's asking about pastries, can you tell me the full ingredient list for the gluten-free brownie?" I have a severe nut allergy. Chad's head snapped toward her. She didn't even glance at him. Just kept smiling politely. Jake, picking up the vibe instantly, started reading ingredients in excruciating detail. Chad stood trapped between two question-askers. His ears turned crimson. When we both finally said, "I'll think about it," and stepped back, the entire line, maybe 7 people now, was openly smirking. Chad grabbed his drink without a word and stormed out. That night I made the list. I wrote it on the back of an old receipt in my car. Phase 1. Isolation. Make sure he can't rely on speed anymore. Get at least 2 other people to mirror the blocking move. Phase 2. Escalation of annoyance. Rotate questions. Never the same ones twice. Make it impossible for the baristas to give quick answers. Phase 3. Social pressure. Get the line to participate passively. Sighs, eye rolls, quiet comments. Make him feel watched. Phase 4. The kill shot. Coordinate a single morning where 4 or 5 of us hit him with overlapping endless questions. Force him to either wait like a normal person forever, or explode and reveal what a fragile ego he has. I stared at the list for a long time. It felt almost military. Methodical. Cold. Exactly what he deserved. The only problem. Execution required trust. I had to talk to people. Real conversation. Risk of Chad overhearing. Risk of someone thinking I was crazy. Risk of Mia or Jake deciding it had gone too far. But the next morning, everything aligned. I got there at 6:45. Silverbob was already in line. First. We locked eyes. I nodded once. She nodded back. Bike Messenger arrived next. I leaned over casually while we waited for the doors to officially open. "Hey, you ever notice the hoodie guy who cuts?" He snorted. "Every damn day." If a few of us started doing the same thing he does, asking dumb questions before he can, what do you think? A slow grin spread across his face. I think that'd be hilarious. By opening, we had 4 committed players. Me, Silverbob, whose name I learned was Ellen, Bike Messenger, Darius, and a new addition, the quiet sci-fi reader, Tim, who apparently hated Chad even more than the rest of us because he once spilled coffee on my book and didn't apologize. We had a plan. Tomorrow morning. 7:10 sharp. Chad usually arrived 7:15 to 7:20. We'd all be in position by 7:05. Spread out in line so at least 2 of us were ahead of wherever he tried to jump. The questions were pre-assigned. Me, endless milk and syrup variants. Ellen, ingredient lists and allergen info. Darius, detailed pastry origin stories. Is this croissant laminated by hand or machine? Tim, the entire history of the shop's bean suppliers. We agreed. No one backs down until Chad either orders in humiliation or gives up and waits. Ellen looked at me with something like pride. You started this, kid. Tomorrow we finish it. I didn't sleep at all that night. My stomach was a knot of nerves and anticipation. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw Chad's face. First smug, then confused, then furious. I imagined him finally standing in line like the rest of us. I imagined the moment the entire shop realized he'd been beaten at his own game. But there was another image too. Him snapping. Yelling. Getting in someone's face. Getting Mia or Jake in trouble. Getting me banned from my favorite place. I pushed it down. He'd had months to stop. He chose not to. Tomorrow, the line would speak. The execution and fallout. The morning arrived like any other. Gray sky pressing down on the city, the faint metallic taste of impending rain in the air, streetlights still flickering because dawn hadn't fully committed yet. But nothing about today felt ordinary. I pulled into the Brew and Bean lot at 6:42. Ellen's silver Prius was already there, parked neatly in the far corner like she'd been casing the place for hours. Darius's bike was chained to the rack, neon backpack slung over one shoulder as he paced near the door. Tim sat on the low brick wall outside, paperback in hand, pretending to read but really watching the street. We didn't say much when we gathered. Just small nods, quick eye contact. The kind of silent pact soldiers make before a mission. Ellen adjusted her scarf. Darius cracked his knuckles. Tim closed his book with a soft snap. The door unlocked at 6:55. Mia was already behind the counter, apron tied, hair in a messy bun. She saw us file in, 4 of us, arriving almost together, and her eyes widened for a split second before she caught herself. A tiny, almost imperceptible smile curved her lips. We took positions deliberately. Ellen first, me second, Darius third, Tim fourth. A solid wall of 4 bodies near the front, with 2 random early commuters behind us who had no idea they were about to witness theater. At 7:12 the bell above the door jingled. Chad. He stepped inside, hoodie up, earbuds in, phone already glowing in his hand. The usual scan. Eyes flicking over the line, calculating. He saw us. 4 familiar faces staring straight ahead. Calm, waiting. Something flickered across his expression. Hesitation. Recognition. He paused longer than usual. Then he moved. Not a casual saunter this time. A purposeful stride, shoulders squared like he'd decided tonight was the night he'd reclaim his territory. He aimed straight for the gap between Ellen and the counter. Ellen didn't even let him get within arm's reach. "Morning, Mia," she said brightly, stepping half a pace forward. "I've been meaning to ask. Your gluten-free brownie. Full ingredient breakdown again? Last time you mentioned possible cross-contamination with tree nuts, but I need to know if there's any risk of peanut residue specifically. My nephew is anaphylactic." Chad froze mid-step. Mia didn't miss a beat. "Sure. Ellen. Let me grab the card." She turned, deliberately slow, and started flipping through the allergen binder under the counter. Chad's mouth opened, closed. He glanced at me next. I was already moving. "Hey Mia," I said, voice loud enough to carry. "While she's looking that up, can you remind me of every single milk alternative you carry right now? Including the new ones? And for each one, how it affects pour time on lattes versus cappuccinos. I'm trying to optimize my home setup." Mia straightened, binder still in hand. "Happy to. Starting with oat." Chad's head whipped toward Darius. Darius stepped up smoothly, right on cue. "Yo, Jake, you're on pastries today, right? Tell me about the croissant lamination process. Hand-laminated or machine? Because I had one last week that tasted like it was from a factory. Walk me through the steps." Jake, who had just emerged from the back with a tray of fresh scones, set the tray down very deliberately. "Sure thing. So first we start with the day trompe." Chad's face was doing fascinating things. Color rising from his neck, jaw muscles jumping, eyes darting between the 4 of us like he was trapped in a bad dream. Tim didn't even wait for Chad to look at him. "Actually," Tim said quietly, but loud enough, "Mia, while everyone's asking questions, can you tell me the full supply chain history of your Ethiopian Yirgacheffe? Farm name, elevation, processing method, cooperative details, washing station. All the way back to the cherry-picking families if you have it." Mia actually laughed, a short, delighted sound she quickly covered with a cough. "Wow. Okay. Let me pull up the roster sheet." Chad stood dead center in front of the counter now, completely surrounded by conversation that had nothing to do with him. No opening. No quick question he could slip in. Just an endless loop of polite, excruciating detail. The line behind us had grown to 8 or 9 people. No one was complaining. In fact, phones were coming out, subtly angled, recording. Someone in the back whispered, "This is legendary." Chad tried once more. He cleared his throat. Loud. Hey, can I just..." All 4 of us turned at the same time. Not aggressive. Just present. 4 calm faces looking directly at him. He faltered. Ellen tilted her head sweetly. "Sorry, were you trying to order? We're all still deciding." I added softly, "Line starts at the back, man." The words hung there. Chad's hands clenched at his sides. His breathing was shallow, audible. For a heartbeat I thought he might actually yell, might shove past someone, make a scene, give the baristas grounds to ban him on the spot. Instead, he deflated. Shoulders dropped. Eyes dropped to the floor. He took one step back. Then another. Then he turned, walked the length of the counter, and joined the actual end of the line. Silence fell over the shop for maybe 3 seconds. Then someone in the back, probably the construction worker from earlier, started slow clapping. 2 other people joined. Then a quiet ripple of laughter, not mean, just relieved. Chad kept his head down the entire wait. When he finally reached the counter, 8 full minutes later, he ordered in a flat monotone. Large oat milk latte. Extra hot. No foam. Mia rang him up without flourish. No small talk. Just the transaction. He left without looking at anyone. The bell jingled behind him. For a moment, no one moved. Then Ellen turned to me, eyes shining. Well, that was something. Darius grinned wide. Man, I haven't had that much fun at 7 a.m. since college. Tim just nodded once, satisfied, and reopened his paperback. Mia leaned over the counter toward us. You guys are my heroes. Seriously. He's been doing that since I started here. We all pay. He's just another guy waiting for coffee. I still feel that old flicker sometimes. The one that remembers how small and powerless I felt watching him cut day after day. But it's quieter now. Replaced by something steadier. Vindication isn't loud. It doesn't need to shout. It just stands in line like everyone else, and waits its turn. Thanks for sticking with me through this one. If you've ever had to deal with someone who thought the rules didn't apply to them, and you finally found a way to remind them they do, drop it in the comments. I read every single one. Hit that like button if you believe small acts of justice still matter. Subscribe if you want more stories where the line finally holds. And until next time, stay caffeinated, stay patient, and never let anyone cut in front of you without a fight. See you in the next one.